And as you probably all understand, when I started to work, this was an area not so important within the automotive industry, but that have changed quite rapidly during the last years. Now IT law issues, privacy issues, issues related to software and all the legal aspects of that are of course of great importance within this sector.
My name is Agnes Hammarstrand and I'm a lawyer and a partner at a law firm called Delphi Law from here in Gothenburg. And I'm working with all legal aspects within IT and digitalization and privacy law.
We have, of course, all the civil law aspects from a lawyer's perspective, like who is responsible for the damage that the car causes? Who is responsible for an accident? That's something you need to design in a totally new setting now.
It will be the General Data Protection Regulation, which is a new EU regulation that will come into force in May 2018, so 1 year from now. And that is a general framework within the privacy area that will regulate all processing of personal data, both in automotive industry but also generally. And it has several requirements for how are you allowed to process personal data, for how long period are you going to allowed to store it, for what legal purposes, etc. And then a lot of requirements related to that. So it basically regulates all type of data that relates to an individual, which is a very broad interpretation. It could be not only a name or email address, it could also be a car registration number and all the data that are processed or collected through a connected vehicle in any type.
Criminal law, what should be criminalized? What about actions caused by the car? Who is responsible for that? Could you get penalized for those type of actions if you're a car manufacturer or if you're a driver, depending on what you have done?
Privacy by design means that you need to comply with the privacy regulations already when you're designing software and infrastructure. So, for example, if you have a principle stating that you are not allowed to store data for a certain period of time, and this of course depends on in which setting we are talking about the data, how long are you allowed to process it, then you should build in this principle in the software from the beginning, so that you are perhaps not allowed the data is deleted after a certain period. And that you have processes and routines in the software which allows you to delete data, to not store more data necessary, and work with all these principles. Could also be that not too much people are getting access to data. One example when it comes to vehicles is the equal regulation, which states that in certain circumstances you need to collect data in case of an accident and then make a call to ambulance, for example, in case of emergency situations. And then such data should not be stored or processed by anyone. No, it should only be processed for those legitimate interests according to that legislation.
Some other things that are quite interesting when we are talking about both connected cars and autonomous driving, there are new legal aspects that might not have been so relevant previously that could be relevant in the future. For example, marketing law issues and advertising.
Well, I think it's important that you take the new data protection regulation seriously and actually start working with it. Introduce processes within your company for how to comply with it, both when it comes to preparing for the legislation now, before it's been coming into force, but also in the long term, what routines do you have? What processes do you have in order to comply with it? What education do you give your employees? That's one thing. Another thing is that you actually consider how we work with it together, different types of professionals, so that you involve both the lawyers, the R&D professionals, the IT persons, the ones that have experience in cybersecurity, and work together with this. It's quite easy to just state, okay, this is a topic for the lawyers, or this is a topic for the IT department, but that's not the case. You need to work with it together. Because privacy is not only about law and not only about IT, it's a question about different aspects in this area.